In March 2026, Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth reportedly approved an order that most outlets reduced to a single warship heading toward the Middle East. But this was no single-ship deployment. It was a floating Marine sea base, roughly 2,200 Marines, stealth fighters, heavy-lift aircraft, and a menu of response options no adversary can easily plan around. And the warship at its center was built to be something the Navy had never fielded before. News of the deployment broke early on March 14, 2026. The first reports came not from the Pentagon, but from journalists citing unnamed U.S. officials. Margie Brennan posted on X that the Pentagon was expected to send an amphibious ready group and its embarked Marine Expeditionary Unit to the Middle East. Within hours, outlets from ABC News to Times of Israel and English.news.cn echoed the same core facts. A force of roughly 2,200 Marines, 3 Navy ships, and a mission approved by Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth. The figure of 2,200 Marines and the identity of USS Tripoli as the flagship appeared in nearly every report, but no official press release or public movement order was issued by the Department of Defense or Central Command. Congressional records show that a notification letter was filed, but unit details were redacted, suggesting the deployment specifics remained classified. According to the Axios Dispatch and Wall and Company, Hegseth's approval came on March 13, 2026, following a Central Command request for a force larger and more flexible than a single destroyer, but faster to employ than a full carrier strike group. The official order itself has not surfaced in the public domain. The Pentagon's only public response was a brief no comment, leaving the press timeline as the earliest verifiable record of the decision. This pattern, journalists breaking the story before any formal acknowledgement, reflects both the urgency and the sensitivity of the operation. By the time the news cycle caught up, open source ship tracking data had already confirmed USS Tripoli's departure from San Diego, with 2 additional amphibious ships joining the transit. The careful absence of detail in Congressional and Department of Defense statements underscores the point. This is not a routine movement of ships, but the deliberate forward positioning of a complete Marine AIR ground task force, approved at the highest level, and tailored for rapid action in a region where escalation can happen overnight. The deployment's real significance lies not in the number of hulls, but in the menu of options it brings, options that adversaries cannot easily predict or counter. A Marine Expeditionary Unit, MEEU, is not a single battalion or a handful of ships. It is a purpose-built package, about 2,200 Marines, organized with their own command, ground combat, aviation, and logistics elements. According to Marine Corps doctrine, the MEU is designed to operate as a Marine Air Ground Task Force, MAGTF, giving it the ability to plan, fight, and sustain itself without relying on outside support. When the Pentagon orders a MEU to sea, it does not move alone. The MEU rides aboard an amphibious ready group, ARG, which consists of 3 Navy amphibious ships, each with a distinct role. The flagship is usually an amphibious assault ship, like USS Tripoli, optimized for launching aircraft and serving as the command hub. The second ship, a transport dock, hauls additional Marines, vehicles, and landing craft. The third, a dock landing ship, carries supplies and heavy gear. Together, these ships create a true floating base, capable of launching air assaults, landing forces ashore, or sustaining operations for weeks at a time. But the ARG is only the starting point. In high-threat environments, the Navy often adds surface combatants, guided missile destroyers, and cruisers equipped with Aegis air defense and Tomahawk strike missiles. When these escorts join, the formation becomes an Expeditionary Strike Group, ESG. This layered package brings anti-air, anti-submarine, and long-range firepower, transforming the MEU and the ARG from a vulnerable transport into a hard-to-kill, networked strike force. The article reports that this particular deployment includes such layered escorts, giving the sea base credible protection and reach. The practical effect is that adversaries cannot predict how this force will be used. It can land Marines on a hostile beach, fly precision raids deep inland, reinforce embassies, or evacuate civilians with little notice. It can strike, defend, or simply show presence, all from over the horizon. According to multiple reports, this is why the MEU, the ARG, and the ESG construct is so unsettling for regional powers. It is not just the firepower, but the ambiguity and flexibility that make it a strategic wildcard. What looks like a defensive group of ships offshore is in reality a toolkit for escalation, de-escalation, and everything in between. USS Tripoli stands out in the America class for one defining feature. It was built without a well deck. This single design choice transformed the ship from a traditional amphibious assault platform into a floating AR base, maximizing its aviation potential at the expense of surface landing craft. Instead of launching armored vehicles or landing craft from a flooded bay, Tripoli dedicates that space to a sprawling flight deck, expanded hangars, and larger aviation fuel and ordnance stores. The result is a ship that can embark a tailored mix of aircraft, each chosen for a specific operational role. The core of Tripoli's air group centers on the F-35B Lightning II. These stealth fighters give the Marines the ability to strike targets deep inland, evade enemy radars, and provide real-time intelligence over hostile territory. Alongside them, MV-22B Ospreys offer long-range, high-speed transport for troops and equipment, bridging the gap between ship and shore in a matter of minutes. The CH-53K King Stallion brings heavy lift capacity, moving artillery, vehicles, or supplies directly to the fight. For close support and attack, the AH-1Z Viper helicopters deliver precision firepower, while the UH-1Y Venom handles command, control, and rapid medevac. This aviation-heavy lineup means Tripoli can project force far beyond the range of traditional amphibious operations. According to ship specifications, the enlarged flight deck supports simultaneous launch and recovery cycles, allowing the Marine Expeditionary Unit to surge air assaults, humanitarian missions, or embassy reinforcements without relying on local airfields. The absence of a well deck is a calculated trade. What Tripoli loses in classic beach landing capability, it gains in speed, reach, and unpredictability. When paired with a full amphibious ready group and protected by surface escorts, this air-centric design makes the ship far more than just a presence offshore. It becomes a versatile, forward-deployed toolkit for crisis response or escalation, ready to act before adversaries can react. The so-called Lightning Carrier concept turns USS Tripoli into something far more potent than a typical amphibious ship. According to open-source analysis and recent wargame results, Tripoli's aviation-focused design allows it to embark up to 20 F-35B Lightning II fighters, sometimes even more in surge conditions. This is not a theoretical capability. Navy test cycles have demonstrated that an America-class hull, stripped of its well deck, can generate 40 to 50 combat sorties per day when loaded with F-35Bs, supported by rapid turnaround maintenance crews and deep magazines of precision munitions. In practical terms, that means dozens of stealth jets can launch from a platform that, on paper, is not even a full-sized carrier. The mix of F-35Bs MV-22 Ospreys, and heavy-lift helicopters gives the force the power to strike deep inland, move Marines and supplies over the horizon, and deliver special operations teams anywhere within hundreds of miles. The article reports that this aviation surge capacity, paired with a full amphibious-ready group and protected by Aegis-equipped escorts, transforms the sea base from a defensive staging area into a flexible strike instrument. The force can escalate quickly, launching precision raids or large-scale air assaults, or it can dial back, using the same assets for evacuation or humanitarian missions. The presence of destroyers and cruisers is not window dressing. Their layered air defense and Tomahawk strike capability make the entire package credible in contested waters. What looks like a passive group of ships offshore is, in reality, a toolkit for rapid and unpredictable escalation, a fact that regional adversaries cannot ignore. The Strait of Hormuz is the world's most critical energy choke point. Each day, nearly 1 in 5 barrels of oil traded globally, about 21 million barrels, passes through its narrow waters. Any disruption here can send global markets into chaos within hours. But the threat is not just theoretical. Iran's arsenal includes anti-ship missiles positioned along its coastline, naval mines seated covertly in shipping lanes, and swarms of fast attack boats that can overwhelm even well-defended convoys. According to United States Navy assessments, these asymmetric tactics are designed to exploit the strait's confined geography, making traditional large-scale naval operations risky and unpredictable. This is where the amphibious force backed by a Marine Expeditionary Unit comes into its own as a flexible tool. Unlike a single destroyer or even a carrier group, the Marine Expeditionary Unit, Amphibious Ready Group, and Expeditionary Strike Group package brings a menu of mission options tailored for this exact environment. It can escort tankers, clear mines, and intercept hostile boats, all while retaining the ability to launch precision raids inland or evacuate civilians if needed. The report says the force's aviation assets give commanders the reach to strike missile launchers or deploy Marines ashore without relying on local bases. Meanwhile, the presence of Aegis-equipped escorts transforms the sea base from a tempting target into a hard-to-crack defensive shell. In practical terms, adversaries see not just a cluster of ships, but a floating crisis response center, capable of shifting from deterrence to decisive action at a moment's notice. The ambiguity of this posture is its greatest strength. What looks like a defensive shield offshore is in reality a toolkit for escalation, de-escalation, and everything in between. A layered escort transforms the amphibious force from a vulnerable cluster into a credible instrument of United States power. According to open source analysis, the addition of Aegis-equipped destroyers and cruisers brings advanced air and missile defense into the mix. The Aegis system, using SM-2 and SM-6 interceptors, can track and engage incoming aircraft, drones, and even ballistic missiles, creating a protective shield that covers the entire formation. At the same time, Tomahawk land attack missiles stationed on these escorts give commanders the ability to strike targets hundreds of miles inland, including command centers, missile batteries, or hostile naval bases, without warning. This combination means the sea base is not just hard to hit, but can hit back across a wide area. The real power lies in the way these elements work together. Unified under a single command, the Marine Expeditionary Unit, the Amphibious Ready Group, and surface escorts form a networked team that can shift between missions almost instantly. One moment, the group protects merchant shipping. The next, it can launch a precision raid or provide air defense for Allied forces ashore. That flexibility is why the formation is more than the sum of its parts. According to defense analysts, adversaries must now weigh not just the risk of a direct clash, but the unpredictable ways the United States could escalate, de-escalate, or redirect its response, all from a force that appears, at first glance, to be simply standing guard offshore. What looks like a defensive presence offshore is, according to defense analysts, a flexible arsenal able to project air power, land marines, or shift posture within hours. The real signal isn't firepower alone, but ambiguity. Deterrence now rides on the options this sea base keeps just out of sight.